Welcome to another edition of Tax Watch, the monthly program of the concerned taxpayers of Duval County, where we attempt to help you, metaphorically speaking, watch your waste, your government waste, that is. But we're also interested in issues involving transparency in government, and I, John Winkler, former president, am also the chairman of the candidate committee. So as part of our ongoing series, an attempt to educate the voters about elections that are coming up, I'm here today to discuss the special election in Senate District Race 1, which has come about through the resignation of Tony Hill, who is now serving with the city of Jacksonville. With me here today is Ramon Day, who is one of the is it 6 candidates now, Raymond?
Yes,
that are currently in the field to replace Senator Hill. Mr. Day and these other candidates will be qualifying, if not by the time you see this show, then the next day, which is this coming Friday the 19th, with a primary election coming up just a month later, and if necessary, a general election in the middle of October. So without further ado, let me introduce Ramon Day. Raymond, welcome to Tax Watch.
Glad to be here, Mr. Winkler. It's a pleasure.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, Senate District 1 is one of the 40 Senate districts that we have here in the state of Florida. Can you tell me a little bit about the district and how long you would be serving if you're elected to this position?
Sure. As you alluded to the fact that Senator Hill resigned to take a position with Mayor Brown, that created the vacancy. The governor has called for a special election. The Democratic primary will be Tuesday, September 20th. The district stretches from North Lim Turner Road almost up to the Jacksonville International Airport, all the way down through, including Volusia County. The southern border of the district runs along the International Speedway where the Daytona 500 is held every year. So this is about a 120-mile long district.
Now we have a map that should be on screen right now. It's a little difficult to see the outline in red, but basically it appears to include a good portion of the city of Jacksonville proper, the old city, the pre-consolidation city, and then an awful lot of very empty-looking rural area to the south.
Correct. The district includes 80% of the vote comes out of Duval County. The rest come from the outlying counties to the south. It includes the Springfield area, the northwest area of Jacksonville. It goes over east into Arlington, which is an area where I grew up. Those are my roots, solidly in the district. It comes down over to the south side of Jacksonville, where I currently live. I currently live in the district. And the neat thing about it is Springfield, where my wife and I are renovating an old house for our future residents, which is in the district. So I have long-standing ties to the area. I recently purchased an interest in a small business which is located in the district. So I have very strong feelings about the area and am confident that I have the ability to represent the people of District 1.
Well, I do think it's interesting, at this point, the 6 announced candidates, although you could have somebody step in here in the next 2 days.
Certainly.
Every single one of them lives in Jacksonville.
Yes, that's correct. There are no candidates yet who have come from any of the counties to the south of Jacksonville.
Now, before we actually get into the state issues, one of the issues that we have been interested in and continue to be interested in concerned taxpayers is redistricting, both redistricting in Duval County in terms of city council, but also redistricting when it comes to our state representatives, since obviously the state issues overlap into Duval County. How likely is it that Senate District 1 is going to still have this for lack of a better word, gerrymandered configuration after redistricting?
Virtually no chance. What I have been told by experts in the Senate office and as well as local consultants who are well experienced in redistricting calculations is that this district will will be virtually totally redesigned to be more compact and comply with the requirements of the Fair District amendments.
Right. So if you had a candidate, say from Palatka, in this round, it's relatively unlikely that Palatka would even be included in the district.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now this will be this election on September 20th, followed by a general election on October 18th. This is simply to fill the remaining year of Senator Hill's unexpired term. And so whoever wins this seat will be on the ballot again next year, running in the reconfigured district after redistricting.
Well, then, go ahead and just give us a sort of elevator speech about why you're running for this Senate seat. Obviously, you haven't had prior political office, unlike a couple of your opponents.
Yeah, I've never held a public office before. I considered running for public office about 20 years ago, but decided not to because of the time requirements and my overriding commitment to my family, so I didn't follow through with that campaign. I have political experience, however. I did serve as Chief of Staff to the late, great Charlie Bennett from 1986 to 88. I think we have a graphic showing my last day on the job, as a matter of fact, working with Mr. Bennett. I feel as though my 2 years working on Capitol Hill, right by Mr. Bennett's side, has enabled me to understand the legislative process, understand how to work with members of legislative bodies across the aisle. And my main focus is being able to bring a positive approach to government. I want to reach out across the aisle to Republicans in both the Senate and the House. I would like to work with the governor where we can. There are some issues where I think that the governor and I agree, and we can talk more about that later. But that's my main impetus for running, is I want to have a better way to help us govern Florida. There's a new day coming.
No pun intended, I feel certain. Well, tell me this. I mean, obviously, with such large, in fact, veto-proof majorities held by the Republicans in the state legislature, obviously it would be incumbent upon minority members, which you would be as a Democrat, to reach across the aisle. Otherwise, you're not going to accomplish anything at all.
Exactly. I mean, we have to recognize the political reality, and it is that we have 12 members in the Democratic caucus. I call the 12 members the dynamic dozen. I think that with an attitude of a concerted effort of trying to work with the moderate Republicans, I think that we can forge some working coalitions on the vital issues facing Florida. We simply cannot afford to stand on the sidelines and let the majority members of the caucus ram through pieces of legislation which are clearly not in the interest of the state of Florida. And we have a lot of ground to make up, and we simply can't afford to stand still.
All right. If I think you wanted to mention something about the timing of your qualifying for this office. This show is ordinarily seen on Thursday evenings here in Jacksonville.
Yes. When this program airs on Thursday evening, on the 18th of August, I will have already filed my qualifying papers in Tallahassee. And I think it's very important that I'm having the opportunity to do this on August 18th. August 18th is the 91st anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which expanded voting rights for women. It was the single greatest expansion of voting rights in American history. Women constitute a majority of the voting population, about 52%, and they comprise a very dramatic 54% of voting turnout. So I'm running a campaign to reach out to every element in the community, from inner city Jacksonville to suburban St. Augustine, all the way down into Volusia County. So I will run a campaign to all constituencies, from North Lim Turner Road all the way down to International Speedway.
Now, one of the, as I mentioned before, two of your opposing candidates have in fact done time in the state legislature. Terry Fields and Audrey Gibson have both been in the House of Representatives. From my personal knowledge of them is that I cannot recall any significant legislation that I at least remember that either of them sponsored or had any significant involvement with. Partly, I think that's probably a function of, again, as I say, the inability for members of that party to get into leadership in the legislature of late. But it may be something else. Do you have any observations about that?
I haven't followed their careers very closely in terms of my personal observation. I don't know what their voting record is to any great extent. That's something that we'll be looking into as the campaign progresses and trying to understand perhaps their motivations on the positions that they take. My philosophy is pretty straightforward. I'm a raging centrist. You could characterize me as a Charles Bennett Democrat. I have great respect and admiration for the late Lawton Chiles, for Governor Reuben Askew, former Senator and former Governor Bob Graham. So I come out of the moderate center of the Democratic Party. That's my philosophy. I've had a 20-something year career in business. I took a break from my business career and I went to work for Mr. Bennett as Chief of Staff for 2 years, resumed it, and then in 2004 I took another break from my business career and I entered the classroom in my alma mater at Terry Parker High School as a classroom teacher where I taught 3 years. So I have actual classroom experience. And I intend to bring my wide range of experience throughout my entire career, both public sector and private sector, and bring this to the issues that confront the Florida Senate as we try to come up with solutions to the problems that are impacting everyday citizens in this district and around the state.
One of the issues that the concerned taxpayers have been working on in the last several years, and which is going to be you could even say it's an existential threat to local government, if not to state government, is the problem with the ability to fund pensions. And at a state level, can you give us an idea as to how you would address the difficulties ahead?
Well, the state level, the state of Florida has a state pension plan, and into which public school teachers fall, into which many public employees of the counties and municipalities around the state of Florida are included. And I think that we have to look at some workable solutions to live up to our commitments to the previous people who have been promised a pension and those who are in the very near future will be receiving their pension. I think we have to look at pension reform, maybe a blend of a traditional defined benefit plan and maybe a hybrid including a defined contribution plan, so that we're not totally exposing future pensioners to the vagaries of the financial markets. We have to look at the financial markets over a long time frame to really understand and to appreciate the returns on capital that can be derived from investment in the private sector. But I think there needs to be some sort of a cushion to protect the decline in the value of those pension assets.
Okay, and just give us an idea, is generally speaking, as to your idea, your philosophical idea as to the role of government in people's lives. I guess you would consider me sort of a small government Democrat. I think it's important for government to intervene. Primarily, the first function is to protect public safety. In the local and state level, that would be our criminal justice, our law enforcement personnel, as an analogous to our national defense at the federal level. So I think that's the first priority of government at the state level. Second priority is obviously education. And education is one of my greatest concerns as a product of public schools here in Duval County. Graduated from Terry Parker High School in 1972.
I received my first master's degree from the University of Florida in Masters of Business Administration and Finance, and I am currently in process with one more class to complete at the University of North Florida with a Master of Arts in History. So higher education needs to be supported at the state level. So I'm committed to a solid public education system, K through 20. And then the other element is let's get the government as much as possible out of free market functions. I'm a strong free market Democrat, and I believe that we let labor organize just as capital has organized, and we try to maximize the economic benefit from the free interaction of labor and management in open negotiations, and whatever they come up with as a solution for their labor agreements, those should be the terms that govern. I don't think that the government should step in and put parameters on what should be in a labor agreement.
Well, there's been a lot said, of course, both by Governor Scott and a number of other public officials about the need to increase the role of privatization in state government. And what are your overall feelings about the concept, and then are there any particular areas where you think it's either a good or a bad idea?
In general, I oppose privatization or outsourcing, because if the market were going to solve that problem, there would already be a private concern engaged in that activity. The fact that there isn't, and government steps in to perform that service, I think indicates that there is no market mechanism for delivering those services. Simply to take out an aspect of government and award that contract to someone who happens to be a political supporter of a political party or a political candidate, I think is not in the interest of the state. It's not in the interest of the employee, and I certainly don't think it's in the interest of the taxpayers, because we're not necessarily receiving added value. We may in fact be receiving lessened value in terms of the services being delivered to the taxpayer. I think there's a better way for us to govern the state of Florida.
Now, and I recognize that in a campaign such as this one, where literally you have only 4 weeks between the time of qualifying and the election, there's not much time to engage in any kind of open debate between the candidates. But in the event that either the concerned taxpayers or the League of Women Voters, or a combination of the two, can organize a debate, would you be willing to participate in that?
I'll go on the record right now, and I challenge all 6 candidates to meet for a minimum of 4 debates in the coming 4 weeks. There's no excuse why public candidates or candidates for public office are not willing to openly discuss the issues in front of the voters, to be able to compare and contrast the positions of the various candidates. So I'll go on record as of the time this broadcast is aired that I challenge all 6 candidates to join me, or all 5 candidates plus me, if there are more. I'll challenge them as well let's openly debate the issues in this campaign and let the voters decide who they want to be their next state senator.
And you're willing to meet in places as distant as Bunnell in order to do that?
I will go to Bunnell. I will go down to Satsuma, East Palatka, Palm Coast, wherever the voters need. I'll be there.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts regarding the election and what people need to keep in mind as they face these choices? The probably no more than 10% of the electorate that will in fact vote in this race?
I think that could end up being a high prediction. This, I think, will be a very, very low turnout election. We are going door to door. I was out personally last Saturday and Sunday, walking through Springfield, where our house that we're renovating is located, and I got a tremendously positive response. One gentleman said, "You know, you're the first candidate I've ever met." I said, "Is that right?" And he says, "Yeah, and I've lived here about 40 years." So I think the voters are hungry to know that they have candidates who want to pay them attention, and we will knock on a very well-defined audience of potential voters and get our message out. I think that the voters deserve that, and I think for candidates to hide behind a secretive process and simply try to come up with the traditional way of dividing up constituencies, I think is totally inappropriate, and I think it's unconscionable.
Tell me this, obviously, with a short time frame, I assume that there are absentee ballots that will be mailed out.
Certainly. There will be an absentee voting process. There will be an early voting process. I think that the various supervisors in the 5 counties will get that information out over the coming weeks ahead. The thing to remember is that this election will be, the Democratic primary will be on Tuesday, September 20th. If there is a Republican or a no-party affiliation, an independent candidate, so to speak, that election will be Tuesday, October the 18th. One of the great concerns that I have is that on the previous Tuesday, September 13th, some of the municipalities and counties down district are having an election. So that could deteriorate some people from coming back a week later. So we need to stress in our message to the voters that we need them to perform their civic duties, 2 weeks in a row.
So rather than suffer from civic overload.
Correct.
All right. Well, let me thank you, Ramon. Again, if I can refer to the map, here in Jacksonville, this district runs from over near Argyle, wrapping around part of the west side, inside the 295 corridor, it looks like, and then around to the north side, and as you said, crossing back over into Arlington. So there's a substantial portion of the more densely populated part of this county will be able to vote in this election, and portions of most of the city council districts.
That's correct. And in addition, there are substantial portions of the suburban areas in St. Johns County out west of I-95 that are in this district. And so we're going to make an effort to go out and meet with as many voters as possible. We'll be holding open office hours, so to speak. I'll have a series of town meetings. And this campaign is going to the people. And I hope with their support that I can be the next state senator in District 1.
And I'd be remiss in my obligations as a member of the Concerned Taxpayers of Duval County if I didn't point out that these special elections are extremely expensive. We will be spending in excess of $200,000 just in Duval County alone to conduct this election. So you need to get out there and vote, folks, because every one of your votes is likely to be costing the taxpayers of the state of Florida $20 or $30 just in order to conduct the election. Now, then again, thank you, Ramon.
My pleasure.
Let me go on to just some basic Concerned Taxpayer of Duval County business here. One thing that I did want to mention was that I wanted to congratulate Councilman Bill Bishop for having opposed the mayor's $2 million slush fund. Councilman Bishop tried to come up with another phrase for it, couldn't think of it, decided that it was a proposal for, in fact, a slush fund, which would have enabled the mayor to have taken $2 million and simply given it to any organization, any corporate applicants that he may have come to Jacksonville, essentially a form of corporate welfare without any kind of control other than the mayor's say-so. So I want to congratulate City Council for having at least preliminarily turned that down. And here's a piece of Concerned Taxpayer of Duval County business. I want to announce the reimplementation of our legislative committee. As you know, as chairman of the candidate committee, we obviously came out with a voter's guide in the recent municipal elections. We're presenting this show today where we had one of the candidates speaking for the upcoming special election in Senate District 1. What we're trying to do is organize so that all the legislation in this county is monitored by our organization. In order to do that, we need volunteers. I'm trying to reach out now to those of you who are watching who might be interested in becoming more active as part of this watchdog function that we try to perform. We basically need another half dozen people that share the same interests that some of us have been exercising in connection with legislation at the city council level. There is an awful lot of activity there. There are a lot of bills that come through. There is a lot of committee work that needs to be monitored, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to prepare reports so that we know what's important and what isn't important. So on behalf of the legislative committee, I want to make the appeal to you that if you have an interest in it, that you call our phone number, which is on screen now, or you go to our website, which is also on screen now, and that you come and see us at one of our monthly meetings. The board meets monthly on the second Monday, alternately on the west and east sides of town. Details about that are also to be found on our website. That's www.jaxtaxpayers.org. So with about 2 minutes left, I'm going to once again ask Raymond Day to throw out there a no more than 90-second elevator speech as to why he feels that he's the best candidate. I will say right now, we have not yet endorsed in this race.
Well, I'm running because I want to bring a positive approach to government in Florida. I am committed to focusing on the issue of public education from kindergarten through graduate school. We have to have a world-class educational system. I believe that Florida should be in the vanguard of public education and not cower in self-doubt. I am committed to working within our current revenue structure. The state budget was cut by almost $1 billion last year. Public education was cut by over $2 billion. We can't sustain that level of cannibalizing our public education financing. I want to work within our current revenue structure. As the economy recovers, we need to restore those cuts in funding and catch up to where Florida needs to be for a quality public educational system. I want to work with the governor and Mayor Brown in bringing in investments into Florida's ports as we produce the competitive infrastructure that we're going to need in the global marketplace. As we engage in international trade, I will be discussing in more detail possible tax incentives in the Florida corporate tax structure to induce increased manufacturing jobs and job growth in Florida. So I look forward to meeting many voters in the coming weeks, and I hope you'll support me on September 20th, Raymond Day for State Senator. Thank you.
All right, once again, you have reached the end of another Tax Watch. On behalf of the concerned taxpayers of Duval County, I'm John Winkler. I want to wish you all well, and God bless Jacksonville, the state of Florida, and the United States of America. Thank you.